Oh, wow. What a rush. Wait, where am I? Oh, hey, how you guys doing? Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hope you guys staying safe, staying healthy. Anybody and everybody who grew up around the same time that I did, sort of those late 2000s, early 2010s, totally watched Disney Channel. And don't pretend like you didn't, because everybody watched Disney Channel. And if you watched Disney Channel at all within the years 2007 to 2011, chances are you more than likely saw at least a couple episodes of the hit show Wizards of Waverly Place. Wizards of Waverly Place was a TV sitcom on Disney Channel. It began in 2007 and lasted all the way in 2012. The show was created by Todd J. Greenwald, starred Selena Gomez, David Henry, Jake T. Austin, Jennifer Stone, Maria Canals Barrera, and David Du Bois. The show ran for 4 seasons and for 106 episodes in total. So the show centers around the 3 siblings, Justin, Alex, and Max, as they try to compete in the Family Wizard Competition, which is a competition where once they've all completed their wizard training, they will compete to see who gets the family wizard powers, who gets to keep their powers forever. So it follows around that, and it also follows around the hijinks and situations they get into because of magic and the way they use it. The show was so popular, it had 10 million people watch the series finale in 2012. This was the most watched series finales in all of Disney Channel history. So like I said, the show really centers around Justin, Alex, and Max, as they're all young teenage wizards who are in high school and sort of the situation they get into because of magic. They live in New York City and they live in an apartment above the Subway shop that their dad owns, which is a Subway sandwich shop positioned in a subway station. Their dad was the family wizard before, but because he got married to a mortal, regular human, their mom, he had to give up his powers forever. But his kids obviously got the powers, and now he's training them and teaches them how to use magic. So Justin is the oldest sibling. He's sort of the smart one, and he's the one that follows all the rules, and he's the one that everybody expects to win the competition. Alex is the middle child, and she's the lazy one. She's the rule-breaking one. She's also the main character of the show. And Max is the younger brother, who also is kind of really stupid, and he'll say he's easily the funniest character in the show. So their mother really hates magic, and a lot of the first earlier seasons focus on they'll use magic, and then their mom will get mad about it. It's a running gag in the show. So the way wizardry works in this world is that there's an entire other dimension called the wizard world, where all wizards live and roam free. But if you live in the mortal world, you're really not supposed to expose magic. And a lot of the show focuses on how many times magic is almost exposed. Alex's best friend Harper and Justin's best friend Zeke both end up finding out about magic, and it's like a really big deal when somebody finds out about it. So a lot of the show is about having the 3 siblings, while they have their disagreements and their bickering, having to come together and solving a problem together, because they are strongest when they're together. Like, that's sort of the show's theme. So I like to call this show the high drama, low action type of show. The special effects sometimes are pretty decent, but because it's like a TV budget and they're trying to do these huge effects, the special effects aren't especially great. The acting can be ranged from anywhere from pretty good to pretty funny to kind of cringeworthy. The set design is really good, though. I'm sure that they had like limited space. It is Disney, but I'm sure because it's a TV show they had limited set space, so they really take good care to try to have as many locations as possible without it being repetitive. You can tell the sets are small. Like, for example, when they're in a park, the park is only about a room wide, right? So you can tell like they're on a set, but they make it seem as if like they're trying to throw in all these different locations, and they do the best they can to put it in. Disney Plus was a great investment for me because not only am I able to watch movies whenever I would like to or find stuff I didn't remember existed, but I really had wanted to rewatch this show, and I couldn't really find it anywhere besides Amazon, and I didn't want to pay to watch it. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of what I'm doing now, but you know what I mean. Like, while I was stuck in quarantine and everything, and nobody had anything to do, and everybody was watching Tiger King, I was watching Wizards of Waverly Place. So right away, my favorite character in the show is probably Justin, and also the dad. I think those two are really funny. Alex honestly reminds me, how lazy she is and the way she acts. The thing is, like, while like the show would have really, really big dramatic moments, right? Like they would like set up a fight scene or something, but because it's a Disney show, they can't really have big epic fights. And I can bash on it all I want and say, well, there's no action, so it doesn't look good, or like this doesn't make any sense, or they're wizards, why don't they do this? And I will get to some of the flaws I have with the show later on. But I have to give them credit where credit's due. They were still able to have excitement in the show and build anticipation for certain things to happen. And you were able to get emotionally invested with the characters. So if they did anything else, they made it. It was a very funny show. There were some hilarious moments. For example, in season 3, Justin's vampire girlfriend gets taken by a mummy. He's looking around for this mummy. So Max, the younger brother, Max decides he's going to help Justin look for the mummy. And this happens.
To listen to clues from other mummies who come to buy new bandages. Very clever, Max. Who's the kid?
No mummies came by, but I did find something that's just as useful. Go ahead, kid. Tell him what you told me.
I've lost me mummy.
All we gotta do is find his mummy, which could lead us to our mummy.
Perhaps the best example of some of the cheesiness of the show, however, comes once again from season 3. So Selena Gomez obviously is a huge pop star nowadays, and she was making music back then as well with her band Selena Gomez and the Scene. Instead of creating a song specifically for the show, minus the theme song, they decided that in this scene, they were just going to use a Selena Gomez song for this scene.
Feel me when I think about you. With every breath I take, every minute, no matter what I do, my world is an empty place, like I've been wandering the desert for 1,000 days. Don't know if it's a mirage.
That's about the level of cheesiness that came from this show. And I loved every single second of it. So I'm going to break down the seasons for a little bit here just so you can gather what I'm talking about. So season 1 really focuses on how Alex is trying to use magic to give herself an advantage or cheat her way out of something that she didn't want to do. It could be small stuff like she doesn't want to do the dishes, so she'll use magic to do the dishes for her. Or it's things like she wants to get into an R-rated movie and she uses magic, and because she doesn't really know how to use magic all that well because she doesn't train that much, she ends up becoming part of the movie. She's having to come up with ways to not expose wizardry and not expose it, especially to her friend Harper, who at this time doesn't know. Either she finds a way out of the situation herself, or she'll get her siblings to help her with the situation. So some of the best episodes from season 1 would have to be I Almost Drowned in a Chocolate Fountain. Justin and Max prank Alex by having a pocket elf bite her, which makes her insane for chocolate. Movies, which is the one I was talking about where she wants to get into the R-rated movie, and then her and Justin both end up in the R-rated movie. Justin's little sister, Alex makes a wish with the genie, wishing that people didn't compare her to Justin. So the genie makes nobody remember Justin at all, so she has to figure out how to get Justin back from by his memories. Wizard School, there's a school in the wizard world called WizTech, which is basically off-brand Hogwarts. Professor Crumb is off-brand Dumbledore, but it's a fun little thing. They even make reference to Harry Potter, so they know what they're doing. And then also Credit Check, which is one of the later episodes in the season, and Alex gets a internship with this fashion magazine, and she realizes at the end of the episode that she doesn't need other people's opinions to help her validate herself. Season 2 is one of the more easygoing seasons in the show. It really focuses on expanding the wizarding world. Alex still gets into trouble, but also Justin gets into trouble sometimes, and Max will get into trouble sometimes. Not to say it doesn't have serious moments, but overall it's just a fun season to watch. So highlights of season 2 have to be probably the werewolf, which is where Justin meets an online girlfriend, but she turns out to be a werewolf, and because they kiss, he turns into a werewolf. Alex's brother Maximan, which is where Jerry, the dad, gets the siblings to all work together by pretending to be the subway shop robber. Saving WizTech, which is about an evil plot to take over WizTech, and they have to end up saving it. Castaway to Another Show, which is where they did a crossover. It's like a 3-part series, and the first part was on this show, and I think there was one on Sweet Life on Deck and the one on Hannah Montana, where all 3 shows crossed over. That was pretty cool. Wizards versus Vampires on Waverly Place, where these vampires are introduced. Juliet, who plays Teddy Duncan from Good Luck Charlie, becomes Justin's girlfriend, but her parents are vampires, so there's this whole thing of like Romeo and Juliet type of thing going on. So season 3, there's a lot to develop characters in the show. It has romance plots, it develops some of its characters and their arcs, and it also ends up having some of the best action in the show overall. This show had some really bad episodes, but it had some really, really good episodes too. For example, season 3 starts off with some highlights with Night of Lizarama. Justin completes his wizarding training and goes to independent study course. He becomes a monster hunter, and he tries to hunt down this mummy, but the mummy ends up taking Juliet. Also, there's a whole thing in this season where Max uses a spell to try to get himself a better conscience, but then his conscience becomes a physical person. Wizards versus Werewolves was a pretty good part. They introduced Alex's main love interest, which is Mason. Mason's a werewolf, and it ends up being Justin finds Juliet from the mummy. They defeat the mummy, but then Mason and Juliet were like old boyfriend and girlfriend, and then all this drama happens. It's a very drama-filled episode. Mason and Juliet and the wizards all get into a big fight. Mason scratches Juliet, and Juliet bites Mason, so Juliet becomes a woman, Mason becomes a wolf forever, and they have to leave, and Alex and Justin are left alone. Dude Looks Like Shakira was when you see Uncle Kelbo. He is Jerry's brother, who when Jerry gave up his powers to get married to Teresa, Kelbo got all the powers. You find out that Kelbo invented Shakira, like Kelbo is Shakira, but he keeps turning into her at random times, and so they're trying to throw a party, but Kelbo keeps turning into Shakira randomly. The Good, the Bad, and the Alex is sort of the wrap up of the arc in the show where you get introduced to this other character. I can't remember her name, but she wants to have a plot to take over the Wizarding World and get rid of the Family Wizard competition forever. And so Alex has to like sort of pretend to go with her, and then she ends up having to stop her. It's a good it's a good for developing characters and such. And then Wizards exposed. My God, the government finds out about wizards, take them hostage. Wizard World is exposed, and then at the season end with the wizards and Mason are stuck in the middle of the desert and having to walk back to New York. That's a season finale. But wait, it gets worse. Season 4 does a lot for trying to wrap up the show in general. It gives characters subplots just so like they can see where they go. It takes the whole family to whole new territories. Alex moves out. Justin's doing his own thing. Like everybody's doing stuff. Overall, season 4 just felt a little bit rushed, and it felt like a lot of the ideas that they have were like the first idea that came to their head. So like, let's do an episode on that. But season 4 picks up where season 3 left off. They get back to New York, only to find out that the whole situation was a setup by Professor Crumb to test them to see if they would expose wizardry. And then because Alex tries to get people to believe that the government is holding all these people hostage, she and Justin both end up losing points in the competition, and Max becomes like the number 1 in the competition. And the whole thing, I just felt like I didn't feel like that worked. Season 3's finale was such felt like a big epic part of the show. Like honestly, it felt like it was high stakes and high tension and actually was working. Season 4 was just like, you know what? Yeah, that didn't really work. Let's subvert expectations. Did Ryan Johnson write this part of the show? So some of the highlights of season 4 would have to be Journey to the Center of Mason, which is where Dean, Alex's ex-boyfriend from season 2, comes back, and Mason gets jealous and he eats Dean, so they have to go inside of Mason and a submarine and get Dean out. Wizards versus Angels, which is around Justin dating this new girl who's actually a dark angel, and the dark angels try and take over the angels, the good angels, and Alex and this other little angel have to try to stop Justin and the dark angels, and they have to end up saving them. Zeke finds out, which is an episode where Zeke, Justin's best friend, finds out about magic, but that whole show really revolved around like Harper was mad at Alex because Alex wouldn't let Harper tell Zeke about magic because Harper and Zeke are dating. Harper's having to lie a lot to Zeke, and Alex doesn't seem to really care about Harper having to lie to Zeke. And as this episode goes on, a lot of the characters end up getting like a lot of their problems resolved, and they kind of grow closer as characters. That's why I like that episode. Wizards versus Everything, which revolves around the main Dark Angel Gorog's trying to take over everything, and a lot of these characters from the other seasons all come together and have this big sort of climactic fight where they end up revolving a lot of those loose ends. And then, of course, the finale of the show, which is the big Family Wizard competition, which is a highlight of the show. It was fun to watch. It did feel a little bit rushed. So let's get into things I didn't like about the show. The number one thing I didn't like about the show was that a lot of its rules were inconsistent. For example, in a lot of season 1, even sometimes later on in the show as well, a lot of the wizards just use their fingers to like use magic. They'll like say something and use their fingers to zap stuff. But then later on, they use their wands a lot more. And then if their wands get taken away from them, then it's like they can't use magic, even though they could use their fingers before. And then Justin even makes a joke about it, because Zeke is asking all these questions about wizardry, and Justin goes, sometimes we use our fingers, sometimes we use wands. It just happens. But whenever they get their wands taken away, they act as if they can't use their fingers. A lot of Harper and Alex's relationship in the show as best friends is Harper gets mad at Alex because Alex messes up something that Harper cared about. Alex tries to use magic to fix it. She makes it worse. Harper gets mad even more. They end up being friends again, and then they resolve it, and they have this big hug. And it happens a lot in the show. A lot of the romance plots are kind of repetitive, and sometimes they aren't even long enough for you to really care. For example, Alex is like in love with Mason after he's been in like 4 episodes, whereas I feel like Alex had better chemistry with Dean anyway. A lot of Alex and Mason's relationship is, well, we can't be together because we don't work because Mason has temper issues, or Alex has her own issues. Then like they work well together. Well, then they'll break up, but they work well together, stay back together. And it was kind of like a back and forth, and it was kind of annoying to watch. And then some of the characters started to act more and more stupid. For example, earlier in the show, Jerry and Justin are very, very smart. Like they know what they're doing. And later on as the show progresses, Jerry becomes sort of like this joke of a character, and Justin starts to not remember things that he should be able to remember. And another flaw I had was, how does the wizard competition work? Because I was under the assumption that you would learn up magic and you would complete all your training. For example, Justin completes his training starts his independent study course as a monster hunter, and then he actually completes that as well. So you would think he's done. Now he has to just wait for the other two to catch up, right? When Justin and Alex expose wizardry, or they expose wizardry, it's really Professor Crumb's stupid, elaborate, evil scheme, really. They get like points taken away. So they said that Justin was level 5 and Alex was level 3, and then they both have to go back to level 1, and Max is level 3, so that's why he's still in the head of the competition. And because he's ahead in the competition, he'll probably be the family wizard. Which I don't understand how that works. Like, how do you get points? Is it based on tests? And how does that work? Because Justin and Alex are still going to remember all the spells and everything that they already learned. So how are they going to fall back behind? Like, how does that work? Like, they're not going to forget the spells and everything that they learned over the past couple of years because they fell back in points. Like, they still know everything. So, like, how do they catch back up? It doesn't make any sense. And then the competition itself, they get there and it's like a game show. So they're learning. They ask questions about spells. Round 2 revolved around they had to try to work together to solve a crime or solve a puzzle, but they only have a certain amount of time to do so, and then they get back and time ran out. So none of them get their powers. They have to find out a way to come together and not be mad at each other for losing all their powers because they're able to like fix their relationship with each other. They passed round 2, and then round 3 was about another trivia thing. But then round 4 starts, and it's just obstacle course. Like the points don't matter at this point. The amount of points they've gotten during the trivia doesn't matter. Like nothing matters. They just have to get through the obstacle course first, and that's how they win. And then the show has its usual flaws that you expect like a show like this to have. Like for example, they'll learn a spell early on, like how to stop time or how to rewind time, or go to an alternate dimension where nothing else happens everything that happens that they want, or they can erase somebody's memory, or just somebody to again like walk through walls. Like it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want in the show. But then like when something like that would be very helpful to do, they don't use that. So while it's frustrating to see some of these flaws with the show and be like, well, why don't they just do this, this, and this? It's a kid's show, and it's probably written by a lot of different people all at the same time. And they probably didn't put that much thought into it. They probably were caring more about developing their characters and developing the overall plot rather than worrying about spells that they already introduced. And like I said, overall, I really liked the show. I really enjoyed watching it. I just found that it had a lot more flaws than I remembered. It was still really funny. It still had great sequences, and it still really made me care about the characters and everything that was happening to them. I just found that sometimes I was like, oh my god, why don't you just do this? I really had a good time watching this show and going back and watching it. I probably will play a couple episodes here and there. I think the best season is either season 2 or 3, because 3 had some really bad episodes, but had some really, really good episodes. And season 2 was just fun to watch overall. Yeah, I just had fun watching it. If you haven't seen the show, definitely check out at least episodes that I pointed out and highlighted, because those are really, really the best ones. Hope you guys staying safe, staying healthy. And go enjoy yourself. Go watch some of the show if you haven't seen it before. It is still fun to watch, even with all of its flaws. Drink a Pepsi while you're at it. Have some fun with it, and I will see you guys later. Bye.